Well, hello there everybody, my name is VGPat, as you more than likely already know, and welcome to the next episode of the Dwarf Fortress tutorial. Now, you more than likely already know exactly what we're going to be doing today if you look up at the title, but let me reiterate just for the sake of clarity. In this episode of the tutorial, I'm going to be helping you guys get started in food production and alcohol. Those are major milestones for any successful fort, and I've noticed a lot of people have issues with it. So I'm going to show you from the beginning, from even selecting your location, things that'll really help you choose good places for food. So, let's just get on into this. Let's start playing Dwarf Fortress. Now, a journey to a fairly small world. Haven't really looked at it yet, but there's a point to that. So, now, as I've said in some of the other videos, temperate is pretty much the best places that temperate areas are the best. Usually. It's never too cold, it's never too warm. You still get a little bit of best of both worlds. Warm is okay, kind of cold is okay, but temperate is usually the best. And for our intents and purposes, that's what we're going to be looking for. So we're not going, no, not hot. No, definitely not hot. Oh god, this world might not be. Hey, there we go, temperate. Now, if you see on the side, you got temperature and all that. We went over that. So temperate, good for now. It's best for the crops. If it's too cold, crops can fail because we're talking about food. Obviously, we're going to have stuff like crops. We're going to have sweet pods, strawberries, if you get one into that kind of thing. So temperate is the best for that. Trees doesn't really matter. Vegetation does matter a little bit. The more vegetation there is, the better the chance that you'll have, plants out there that your dwarves can eat. And early on, that can provide a fairly decent amount of food. Now, later on in your fort, that, doesn't really apply quite as well, but still. And then the last thing, which is wilderness, that actually has a lot to do with it as well. If it's wilderness or something that's a little bit more wild, you're going to have more predator wild animals. And if you have more wild animals, you have more stuff to hunt. And if you have more stuff to hunt, well, pretty obvious. Now, if you see there on the local map, you see the little blue line going through everything. That's a river. That's also going to be really helpful. Rivers and lakes are really good sources of fish. Fish is another major thing. So if we look here at this area that we've got now, hold on, let's move down a little bit. No wilderness. I kind of want the wilderness just so we can have a lot of animals that we can hunt down, just for the sake of showing it off. So in this area we've got, that's another thing, some soil. There's not a lot of soil in this area, and that's really helpful. Here we go, we've got a lake and a river. We've got very deep soil, wilderness, some vegetation, moderate amount. This should be a good place to start out. For food production purposes at least. Vegetation, good. Surroundings, wilderness, lots of animals. Very deep soil, that is very good. Not good for other things, but for our intents and purposes it is very good. Because that'll let us make a lot of underground farms. Which, underground siege is what most dwarven civilizations send you off with. So now that we've got our area which has the lake and the river, we're going to either embark, or we're going to go on and we're going to prepare for the journey carefully. Well, they've changed this up, it doesn't actually cut off anymore. So for as far as our peasants go, we're still going to need our miners. We always need those. We're just going to make that. I think I'm just going to make one of my miners a mason. We don't really need that many miners for what we're going to be doing today. And for a third peasant, we're going to make him, since we're on the lake and the river and we want a lot of food, we're going to get a fisherman. He's going to be proficient in it. We're also, now this is where a lot of people have trouble with their fishermen, we also need to make him a fish dissector. And where the hell is the fish cleaner at? There we go, fish cleaner. We don't need really that many points into it. He only needs really like one, just for the sake of speed. Having no points into it makes him kind of slow, but that's not the point. Proficient fisherman, fish dissecting, fish cleaner. There we go. We've got a fisherman that can fish, gut, clean, done, full 9 yards. He's good to go. Now for our next dwarf, we're going to make, just our regular stock and standard grower, herbalist, brewer. These are all three jobs that a grower is somebody who doesn't spend all his time there growing. So, Obviously, he's going to need a secondary job to kind of tide him over when that's not being done. So we have a brewer, and the herbalist is something that he'll just be doing in the beginning, because growing isn't always something he'll be doing. So, brewing comes in a little bit later. Now, we could also add him some points into being a cook. But we don't really need a cook early on, and chances are from migrations, you'll get a cook anyway. Having points into it only really increases the speed and the quality by a little bit, but just by standard, the quality is usually good enough that it doesn't matter. So we're not going to have a cook starting out, but a cook later on is very useful. So for our next dwarf, now that we've already got a fisherman, we've already got a grower, we're going to have, and this is something that not a lot of people get in their standard dwarfiness, sending off their dwarves to start with, they never get a hunter-trapper. And that is somebody who goes out, they almost always come with a crossbow. You don't actually have to get them one. They come with it themselves. And they also come with some very basic bolts that they can go out and hunt for things. Now, having a hunter, which usually goes with the ambusher and stuff like that, it's a bit of a give and take, because you can't tell them to stop, and you can't tell them what to go at. And sometimes they'll go at stuff that's a lot tougher than they are. So it's a give and take with a hunter. So you have to think about that with where you're going to. Since we're going into the wilderness, it doesn't really matter as much. But oftentimes, as far as hunters go, you can get just as much success, if not more, just from letting your military do it. Just training up a military and just, sending them off to kill things. Because the hunters never really get anything decent. But if you really wanted to go with one that you really didn't control, one that would just go out and kill shit, if you really wanted to, you would usually get the ambusher. And you'd probably put that up to 5, because having it really high is really good. Now, you can probably put more into this if you wanted, but I'm only adding this for the sake of it. So, ambusher, trapper, stuff like that. I really don't prefer these. I'm just going to be adding one just for the sake of posterity. But, like I said, it's up to you. If you really want one, go for it. You can get some early game success with it, but later on they kind of become a little bit more useless, as the stuff that you usually find outside of your fort starts to dwindle, and you start getting some more dangerous things that they'll go after, and they might kill themselves, and that's never a good thing. So for our last one, we're going to be getting a beekeeper. Now, this is where I'm going to have to talk about the 6 major food groups of Dwarf Fortress. Now, as I said, there's 6 major food groups, and we've accommodated most of them so far. We've got plants, which, we have our grower, our herbalist, they gather up plants, easily stuff to be gathered and farmed. We have meat, that's what the ambusher's for. And then there's fish. Fish and meat are separate. Fish, you have to actually go to the fish dice, you have to have a specific set for that, because it comes through a much different way. Although at the end of the day, it is meat, but it's classified differently. And you also have eggs, milk, and honey. Eggs and milk, which, well, everybody knows where eggs and milk come from. Milk from cows, eggs from things that lay eggs. Chickens, crocodiles, whatever. Milk, anything with breasts. Literally, you can get milk in this game from anything that you could possibly think would have a nipple, including grizzly bears and llamas and stuff like that. But how often are you going to have a grizzly bear around? But still. And then the last one, as I said, is honey. Now, honey is a little bit of a weirder one in the case that it's not always reliable, and it's kind of like an extra thing. You don't need it. Honestly, you could have an entire fort, and I did a Let's Play, in the Let's Play, I had an entire fort built off fish and plants, and it worked. None of the dwarves complained about the food, they were happy. I had the cook make really fancy stuff, and everybody was good. I didn't have to have meat, I didn't have to have eggs, I didn't have to have milk, and I didn't have to have honey. But, if you wanted honey, you can. So we're going to have 5 points in Beekeeper, 2 in Animal Trainer, and 2 in Animal Caretaker. The Animal Trainer and Caretaker are very... you don't need it, but I'm adding it to have the Beekeeper to do something else. Beekeeping in general is much more complicated than the other ones for not as much turnoff. You really need to really want to do it to get a lot out of it. But when you do it, you get stuff like wax, honey, and then royal jelly, which you can use very effectively, but it's not necessary. So I'll explain how to do that when we get in there, if we can get it. Now, bees will always appear wherever there are, whenever it's not a freezing biome, you can find bees. But bumblebees cannot be used. Bumblebees cannot be used whatsoever. So it kind of comes up with an issue with that. But there's not much else. We're just going to make this guy our doctor. No, we're not. Whatever, we need to go get some of these items out of the way. Now, we're going to remove the iron anvil. We don't need that. We don't need the wheelbarrow either. I just want some points to get a couple animals. What we're going to get is, always get dogs. I don't care what we're doing. We need dogs and cats. So from there on out, we don't have many points to do much else. We're going to remove a few more things. That should give us enough. Now, as I said before, one of the 6 food groups in Dwarf Fortress is meat. And from that, guess what we're going to get? We're going to get... There's a lot of things we could actually get. We could choose, but what you really choose is up to you. I mean, you can go for cows, you can go with rams, lambs, and stuff like that. It really just depends on your personal preference. But I'm going to go with a sow and a boar because they're cheap, and they give a lot of meat all in all. And they're not really too picky about where they are. Also, as far as farming goes, it's really good, I mean really, really good, to actually bring more seeds along than they give you. So that's the dimple cup spawn, the rock nuts, the sweet pod seeds, the cave wheat seeds, pretty much anything with seeds in the name, that's what you're going to get a few more of. So, and I don't have enough points, whatever. That is, yeah, that's fine. Actually, I don't need as many rock nuts. Rock nuts aren't that important. Pretty much your biggest thing is going to be your plump helmets. Plump helmets is pretty much the god of farming. I'm not kidding, you're going to grow more plump helmets than you're ever going to eat, but that's not the point. So we're going to embark, and hopefully we can get onto this. It's taken quite a long time to actually explain everything, but hopefully when we get into it, it'll make a lot more sense. And there it goes, it's frozen up, just like Dwarf Fortress likes to do. But it's not really frozen up, we know that. A dwarven outpost. Alright, now that we're actually in the game, I'll actually get a chance to show off a lot of the stuff that might not seem to have made as much sense. So we're going to go down with a downward staircase. I'm going to try and build us up a fort as quickly as I can. Let's build down a few floors. Get my dwarves there to do that. So we have a place that we can start making our farms. And while they're doing that, we're going to set to gather plants so that our forager / brewmeister can start gathering up some plants for our stockpiles. So we'll get them to do that real quick. Get them to chop down some trees as well, just to clear out a little bit of an area, because we're going to need a little bit of an area for what we're about to do. So they dug through that they dug through that quite quickly actually. So now that they've dug that out, I'm going to explain to you how you would go about making a farm. Making a farm is complicated at best, or complicated at worst, just probably one of the easiest things you're going to actually do in the game. So we're going to just make a small area right there for a farm, and then we'll also make another area over here that I'll plan out real quickly for a much larger farm. So we're going to have that little square up there for our main farm that we're going to use just for showing off purposes, and this over here I'm going to show you how to build a more complicated farm. Now, when you're building a farm, it can only be built on soil or mud, and as you can see here, this sand constitutes as soil. Now if we were to try to build on gypsum, which it said that we had hit down there, or some kind of stone, we wouldn't be able to do it because the roots wouldn't be able to take hold. But there is a way around that. You can get mud to be washed over the surface of stone by, well, you can cut into one of these little ponds up here and have the water just dump over the stone. Just kind of have it drop down on the stone down there, and as it would spread mud around. So now that we've got this area cleared out, I'll set them to do that. Let's go to B for buildings. And then we're going to go down. You see farm plots is P. So we're going to use U and K to make it bigger. Now this is just going to be one type of farm. I'm going to leave a little bit around the edges so that our farmers don't always have to be stepping on it. Hit enter. Now our farmer should come down here at a fairly decent rate if he's not still collecting plants. And he should, quote-unquote, construct the farm. That's mostly just him saying that yes, there's a farm. It shouldn't take him any longer than actually getting down here. But now that we've got that done, we have our fisherman over here who's already started. See, he's got 2 raw pond turtles. Now, a fisherman will automatically just go out there and fish. He's collected a few turtles already. If we had a shop for him, he would go take it over there. He would clean out the animal, and then there we go. We'd be done. Actually, I'm gonna cut this in half, actually. There we go. We don't need any more than that, to be fair. So, our farmer, our fisherman is already doing that. Now, he's going to do it at random. He's just going to go to the first thing of water, first thing that has, that he thinks is going to have fish in, and he's going to fish. Now, we could set up a specific area for him to fish himself by going to I to zones. And let's say we want him to go to this pond right here. So we're going to go over the entire edge of it, like this, and then we're going to set it to fishing. We also might as well set it to a water source and a pit and pond / pond, and we can assign animals to drink from it. We might as well do that as well. Drink. The cats don't need it. There we go. So our fisherman, when he's done getting that fish he has there out, he should come over here and just decide, hey, there's lots of fish here. I've been told to fish here. Might as well do it. So now that our farmer is doing whatever the fuck, where is he? Whatever, let's move on from him. Now, like I said before, you can't really start a pond on stone. And it just so happens that we have stone down here, just to show off for these purposes. Let's have them hurry up down here. Where is our farmer, actually? Just start gypsum. Okay, so now that they've got that, let us dig over this way, and we'll make a small little area right there to put our little makeshift farm. Now, and not in all cases, and that's one of the reasons why I chose the deep soil, and not in every case that you go to will you have a lot of places that have deep enough soil for you to really make a farm. So, not all the time will you be able to just dig into the sand like this and then just put down a farm and be like, well, there I go, done and done. In some cases, all you'll really have is stone. Now, those areas are few and far between, but you could also want to make a really deep underground farm, or, you know, really whatever you want to do. So, I'm going to show you how to do that. And what you need in this case is water. I'm not kidding, that's all you really need is water. So what we're going to do is, now that we've got that area down there, they're digging that out, it's raining. Oh, that's fun. I also need to make, actually, I'll pause real quick while they get that all dug out. 1 second. Alright, they're still digging, but as you can see here, our farmer has come and he's adjusting the plot. He's got it partially constructed. Now, once he finishes that up, which really shouldn't take too long, hurry up, I told these nice people you are going to make a farm. Now make your damn farm. You can also see over here, which is part of the lake, you can see fish kind of swimming around. And once we get our, there we go, he's done with that. Now we're going to hit Q. Q is for set building tasks and preferences. We're going to go to Q and we're going to move over the plot. Now you can see spring, you can see at the top you have dimple cups, quarry bushes, sweet pods, plump helmets, etc., etc. If this was above ground, you'd have different things, but this is underground. You also at the bottom have fallow, fertilize, season fertilize, yes, no. You also have spring, summer, autumn, and winter. Now what you're going to do here is we're just going to make plump helmets. We're going to make plump helmets in spring, and we're going to hit B and go to summer. We're going to make more plump helmets, and we're going to go to C for autumn. We're going to make even more plump helmets, and we're going to go for D for winter. And we're going to make even more plump helmets. Now, we're not going to fallow. I'm not a really big fan of using fallow on things like this. You can, what helps grow, and that's basically where you use ashes. It helps you grow things quicker, but it's not really that necessary. So, personal preference, Not my preference, but if it's yours, go for it. So now our farmer should come back here fairly quickly, and he should start planting things. And have they finished down here? No, they have not. I'll be right back again. Also, before I go, our fisherman has actually started using this little fishing area. He's kind of got dissuaded from using the other one, and he's going from this one. He's also picked up a lot of the. He also fished a little bit, but because he has no place to put them, because we haven't set up any stockpiles yet, he just kind of threw them to the ground. The lazy prick. But I'll be right back, and we'll keep on going with this. Okay, now I let my dwarves dig just a little bit more than I originally planned to. I got a few little bedrooms made up, and I've got some workshops down here along with a stockpile up there. Now, we're going to need the workshops for a few reasons. So let's go to B for buildings, W for workshops, and now from here, as you can see, we have a lot of things that we're going to have to sort through, but the first thing that we're really going to need is a butcher's workshop. I know a butcher's workshop is what you use. We've got shell, that's good enough. A butcher's workshop is what you use when you have your hunter out getting animals and he kills like a raccoon. Let's see if he kills a raccoon. He'll bring it back. The butcher shop is what we'll use to separate all the different parts of it. He'll throw the fur this way, the food that way, and then everyone will come and pick it up and just take it to where it needs to go. Now, to finish off from that, you need a tanner's workshop, etc., etc. But still, next thing we're going to get is a fishery. The fishery is, well, if you can't figure it out by the name, well, it's the place that the fish go to be chopped up, to get the bones out and to just be processed. Now that goes with all fish, the turtles included that he was getting out of the pond. They'll just remove the shells and make the food ready to be eaten or cooked. The dwarves don't really care if it's cooked, to be honest. They'll eat it raw. Okay, now the next thing we're going to get is a farmer's workshop. Not necessarily 100% necessary, if that makes sense. You don't need one. A lot of the stuff that you get straight from the farms can be processed directly, but that's not actually what it's for. So let's have them make that, and as we can see up here, our farmer dwarf has started to plant rows of plump helmets. Exactly what we needed him to do. Now the next thing we're also going to do is I'm going to build just a couple workshops just for myself, just so I can have some stuff. So now that we've got that, now we've got our fishing dwarf up here collecting stuff, our farms going, and I'm pretty sure we have a dwarf somewhere attempting to kill things. I don't know where exactly he's at, but he's probably somewhere. That's kind of the basis of our food chain. We've got fish, plants, and a really deranged guy looking out everywhere for, you know, stuff to kill. I think that's good enough for me, but there's still more. As I've said, there's 6 fruit groups, and that includes eggs and milk and honey. Milk, that's what you really use the farmer's workshop for. You honestly do. So, now I might also want to recommend that you guys, that as far as the fishery and the farmer workshop goes, you actually need somebody with the butchery, or small animal dissecting or trapping active to actually build it. Same with fish. The farming workshop, it just needs a, you know, construction. So we're going to go to our lazy new pack, and then we're going to go to the Dwarf Therapist. We're going to get that up, and we're going to make sure that we have somebody with butchery enabled so that we can have the butcher's workshop, and that is also really bright compared to what I was just looking at. Make sure you have somebody with the butchery enabled right there. I didn't have that to start with. And you're also going to want somebody who can make the farming, which is for the fields and stuff like that, which we already do. So now that we've got all that out of the way, we already have the fishery active. We also have that, but that's for me. Now the fishery is unique. That goes along with the the fish. You know, we have our fisherman up there. He will automatically just prepare fish. You don't actually have to add a task for him to do it. You don't have to tell him to go capture fish. You don't have to tell him to extract anything from it. He will do it automatically. Anyone with a fish dissecting will just go at it. They will not give any fucks. They'll just do it. It's actually really easy. Fishing is probably one of the easiest ways to get food in this game, next to farming. Farming, we've just set up a farm up there, and as you can see, one of them is ready to be picked. That's what the little purple thing means. See, somebody picked it up, and they got a barrel, they picked it up, and they took it back down. It's really easy. Farming is just that quick. Well, not quick, but easy, but Fishing is the same way. Farming and fishing, really easy. Meat, now that we have a butcher's workshop, let us go capture a live land animal, if we have any. A message will come up if we don't, but who cares. Just that easy. Butcher workshop, they'll do the same thing. If something dies and you have a butcher, he'll usually pick it up, take it there, chop the fuck out of it, and then there you go. Now sometimes if they don't automatically do that, you usually can go to their body and set it to be butchered from that. Now with a lot of things, if it's on the ground, if it's made of metal, you can set it to be melted. If it's, you know, once alive, it can be butchered. Now every civilization has different rules on that, and because you play as a dwarf in this one, they will not butcher other sentient beings. If you kill goblins, they won't butcher them. If you kill elves, same thing. It's as sad as you want it to be, but they won't do it. Now, we still have our little area down here, so we still need to get something done with this. So let's go up, and let's mine out to there. So we're going to mine up above from it, and we're going to just drain water down into it. So now that we've got that, let us have our little guy, H for channel, and we'll just have him channel down until he reaches right there. And he should just go straight down, and then dig out through there. Hurry up, we're on it. Wait, he went down farther than I wanted him to. But it doesn't matter, he got out anyway. So now that that's my bad. Don't do that. You can get your drawers stuck like that. Now, we're going to drain water into that hole. So we're going to have him dig that out real quick. And let's also make a door. Or you can either make a door or a floodgate. In this case, I'm just going to make a door because I'll probably repurpose it after we get done with this. And we need logs, whatever. It's not really going to matter that much. So now that he's got that dug out, let us actually have him dig. Just wait 1 second. Alright, I had to make a door, so we're just going to put a door right here. Now I'm going to explain why. Now once we do this, this is going to create kind of a security risk. So stuff can enter in from up there and get through there, etc, etc. So we're going to, now that he's placed the door, we're going to dig this out. Let's let him go do that. He should escape fairly quickly. Let's forbid passage, keep tightly closed. Done. So now the water should drain down here and into here, and as it moves over the surface, it should create mud. Mud being something that you can actually make farm on. You see it turned red? That's the mud. Now this should take just a minute or something. He needs more plump helmets spawn because he's run out of seeds, but still, that's fine. Now if we hit K, you can see that the better part of where a dusting of mud. See, there it is, a dusting of mud. That's what you can actually plant the farm on. So we're going to have to wait for that to all drain out. That might actually take a minute. It might even spread a little farther than we want, but that's fine. As long as we get it to move over the entire surface, we should be good. So, see, pretty easy. Now there's a lot of different ways you can do that. There really is a lot of ways you can do the water thing. But for one that's below where the water is, that's probably the easiest. Also, if you do have a lake, if you haven't watched my Let's Play, don't ever dig into that. Don't do it. It's bad. The water pressure is outstanding, and you probably will kill more dwarves than you will ever. Never mind. That's something completely different. Just don't dig into the lake for water. That's a bad idea. It doesn't even go that deep, so we're actually probably in the good for that one. So now that we got that done, we've got our farmer up here that just gathering up plants like it's nobody's business. We've got our fisherman up here just fishing like it's nobody's business. But we removed his little pond, so we might actually want to go remove that, and then add another one over here so he can just fish here. I guess he had the right idea and he picked the right place to fish to begin with. My bad guy. I also say that as a water source. So there we go. Now we've got farming, so we got plants. As you can see, we've got a fair bit of plants. We've got fish. We might also want to set and Dwarf Therapist a couple other people that can actually do maybe not just the fishing, but the cleaning and the dissecting. People that, you know, might not be doing stuff all the time. so that they can help clean it, because he will probably catch a lot of fish, and he probably won't be able to do it all himself. But that's fine. Now the last thing what we're going to do is we're going to talk about alcohol. Don't drink and drive, kids. But no, alcohol is what every dwarf needs to survive. They don't like to drink water at all. Don't ever make them drink water. They will be pissed. And in some cases, they will dehydrate themselves to the point of death if you don't have alcohol. I'm not kidding. They're fucking dumb. So we're going to go and look for the steel. S-T-I-L-L, not S-T-E-E-L. E-E-E? No, retard, that's 2 E's. And we're going to make a steel. That's where they distill alcohol. It's fairly simple. And what you need for alcohol is barrels. That's why we also have this carpentry workshop. So we're going to make several, not beds, we're going to make barrels. We're just going to set that on repeat. Now, if you ever come across an issue where you have made a lot of barrels... That was creepy. If you ever run across a situation where you've actually made a lot of barrels, but you can't use them for the steel, that's because when you make a stockpile, it'll automatically use all your barrels, which can be an issue. So, ER, there we go. We're going to have max barrels set to 5, so that will... You'll have to change this based on what it is, but I'm just saying, if you ever run into a case where you've made a lot of barrels, but you can't use them, it's probably your stockpile is just hoarding them. The stockpile is sentient, my friends. It is sentient. So we're only going to set it to max, okay, maybe 8 barrels. So, that's not something you would always have to do, but like I said, if you run into an issue with barrels, if you run into an issue with them, and for some reason it just is not working, that's probably what you're going to have to do to fix it. So, and that is getting smoothed over quite nice. Let's go to DB. We'll go to hide. We're just going to hide all this rock. There we go. We're just watching the water go over that. So, that guy's farming up there. Now we're just waiting for the steel to be made. Alright, now that he's got the steel made, you just have to add a new task and brew drink. That's all you need to do to make alcohol. Your dwarves will take it back to the stockpile wherever you have it set up, and they will drink that shit till the day they die. Pretty much from birth to death, your dwarves will drink alcohol. So you need a lot of it. Now that's something that you also are going to have to keep very high in stock, because the more dwarves you have, the more they drink. And the more issues you have, the more they drink. The less alcohol you have, the more they drink, because they think it's going to run out, and then they'll drink more. Obviously that's a joke, but in some situations it's actually true. So make sure you always have a lot of alcohol. See, he took a barrel from the stockpile, and he's going to go take it back. Now the amount of alcohol that they make is very, it's varied depending on the material they use, but plump helmets, which is what we're growing up there, see, we had 40 drink, now we're at 50. Or we were at 30, or we're somewhere around there. Anyway, now the items that they use to actually make the alcohol varies. Now, that just depends on the kind of alcohol that they're going to make. You can use everything from honey to plump helmets. It just really depends on what they want to use. For honey, they make mead. For plump helmets, they'll do this, etc., etc. It doesn't really matter what kind of alcohol it is, but it's usually good to have many different kinds. You don't have much control over that, and there are ways that you can have some control over that, but it's not really that necessary to worry about. As long as you have some, they won't care. So as you can see down here, the water's drying up, and we have a nice dusting of mud over everything. So let us go to B for buildings, P for farm plot, and you see, now we can make a farm down here on the stone, whereas before we could not. Now our farmer will come down here and do that. Now, as I've said before, there are two types of, not before, but quite a while ago, I said there are two types of farms you can make, one above ground and below ground. Now you don't start out with any above ground seeds. You can usually get that from elven caravans, human caravans, and you can sometimes get them from the above ground plants. And what you would usually grow up here is stuff like strawberries and berries and stuff like that. Not necessarily stuff you need, but it adds a nice extra stuff. With the strawberry, you can make strawberry wine. It just depends. In some mods, you can get can increase the variety on that, but we're not playing with any of those. But above ground plants are nice, not necessary. Everything you need as far as actual survival goes is just a farm, fish, meat, and you're good. And there you go, that's how you get food in Dwarf Fortress. It actually took a hell of a lot longer to explain all that than I thought it would, and even then I think I brushed up, I think I actually spent a little bit, not enough time on some of these little things, but, you know, that's just the nature of the beast. You have a lot you can do with this. These are highly variable things. You can do a lot of different things with these farm plots. You can make small little 2x2 areas, just a bunch of those. You can make big ones. You can make a bunch of different farms. You can get fish in several different ways, out in the lakes, out in the ponds, in rivers. You can get meat in so many different ways. It's just hard to really just pin down how you're going to do that. It really is, and that's one of the reasons why I say it's not. That's not why I haven't really showed how to get meat per se, but it's such a situational thing that I can only really say, build a butcher shop. The ambusher I got, he hasn't killed anything, so we haven't actually been able to show that off because we're running out of meat because they're eating it. Ambusher is very unreliable. So that's why we haven't gotten any of that. But to be honest, what you'd really want to do to get meat is use your military to hunt down stuff like elk that you might find, or moose, or anything that you might think would be good to eat. And there's really nothing on this map. We were able to show off everything, but there's our cat, but I mean, the kind of food you get really depends on the map. And in here, it's really easy to just, you know, get the strawberries, just wild strawberries. It's easy to get fish. It's easy to farm. Meat isn't really necessary. Now, if you went down into some of the underground passages and, you know, you found some of those wild animals, like, you know, you can get that. But remember, you cannot eat, if you're playing as the Dwarven civilization, which is the default, which is very hard to change, you cannot eat any sentient race. You can't kill goblins and eat them. Well, there's an eagle. We could try and kill that, but you know that probably wouldn't go too well. I mean, you can't kill goblins and eat them. You can't kill elves and eat them. You can't even kill any of the underground sentient races like frogmen or, you know, anything weird like that you run into. Dwarves just don't like that. You can't eat other dwarves. Now, your dwarf can go batshit fuck nutty crazy, and then they can probably eat another dwarf. But, you know, he's batshit fuck nutty crazy. He's not really one to say. Food in this game, that's food. I'm hungry now. I might go make spaghetti. Do you have spaghetti, dwarves? Oh, that reminds me, cooking. Now, when you set up B for buildings, W for workshop, and we're going to go to a kitchen. Not go to a kitchen, but make a kitchen, excuse me. Now, kitchens are different. Let's go to Dwarf Fortress and let us find... That's really bright. I'm sorry to everybody for that. I just set this bottom guy to be a chef. Now, with a kitchen, it's another one of those things that's a nice bolster for a late game group, but it's not really necessary very early on. So, hopefully he'll be able to field that real quick. Now, what a kitchen does is it takes a lot of randomly assorted things like eggs or milk that you might run into and groups those together and makes like a flambe or a steak or cockroach meat covered in strawberry syrup. I'm not kidding, I've seen them. Now, we also have the farmer's workshop we haven't gotten made yet. I'm gonna have to get that done real quick. 1 second. Well, while we're waiting for the farmer's workshop to get made, I think I need to explain a few more things, and that's about milk and eggs. Milk, and honey specifically. Honey, as I've looked across this map, I've not noticed any...
Some haggard-looking migrants have arrived.
Oh, they're not even going to be able to go here. They're going to be stuck on the other side. There's not any actual beehives on this map. And that's an issue. That's not really a common thing, but let me explain how beehives work as quickly as I can. You basically set an artificial one near a real hive. You set your dwarves to, get bees into it, and then the colony grows, and then you can split that one once the colony gets big enough, and you can make more beehives, and so on and so forth. I'll leave a link to the wiki page on that. Actually cultivating bees is weird, and it's not something that you would normally see. What is the button for bridge again? I don't even know. Let's just go down. Cultivating bees is actually quite difficult, just because they're very often going to sting your bees and piss them off, honestly. So, I haven't been able to find any here, and that's an issue. Now, the farmer's workshop is where you would go to get milk. You would there's an option in that just as there is in the butcher's workshop and the fishery, that you just go there and you set it to milk an animal, and then your farmer or whoever is designated for that would bring the animal down there, milk it, and then they'd be on their way. Now, eggs is kind of similar to the honey, but nowhere near as complicated. And I forgot to bring chickens, so I'll probably leave a little addendum on this right now. Here. Now, the addendum for the chickens and eggs is going to be right here. Now, I'm using chickens just as a baser. Now, you can use all kinds of animals for this. Pretty much everything that you can think of that would lay eggs, and then you can get eggs out of it. Crocodiles included, as weird as it sounds. Now, what you're going to need to do, it's not that, you're going to go to B for build, go to our workshop, and you are going to make a crafts dwarf's workshop. We don't even have enough building materials for it, but it doesn't matter because I've already got what we need. From that, you're going to make nest boxes. So we're going to go to B for buildings. We're going to go to the bottom, which is nest box, and we're just going to build some nest boxes. I've got 10 of them right here. So we'll just build 5 right here, and then we're going to go to I for zones, and we're going to set us up from this area here, an area for our chickens. We're going to set that up to a pen and pasture in, and then we're going to set all the roosters and hens and whatever other animals that we want to lay eggs in that area to there. And then you wait. They're all building the nest boxes, and they're going to take all the chickens over there. Now, you might want to protect the chickens. You might want to build like a little enclosure for them with walls and stuff. But this is all you really need to do. See, 5 of the chickens just are sitting on it, and oh, by Jove, I think they've already laid some. Though I'm not quite. Yeah, see, they've already laid eggs in it. There's hen eggs. That one's already laid 15 eggs. Damn. Now, if you only have females of the species, they'll lay eggs. If you have any males, the eggs can be fertilized and they will hatch eventually. Not all of them, but some. And it's as simple as that for eggs. Now, with beehives, it's a little bit more complicated. Like I said, you just have to find a beehive on the map. In the same way you would make the nest box, you would make a beehive, you'd set it up near the beehive, and your beekeeper should finish off with the rest. And he should gather the honey on his own. But I will be leaving a link to the wiki page on that in the description. Make sure you always check the description for all these videos, because it will include a lot of helpful things and will probably answer a lot of the extra questions you guys might have. Now, I hope this video has been very helpful to all of you who have watched it, and if you would like to see any more, just remember, leave a comment at the bottom for what you would like me to make a tutorial of next. Tell me if I missed anything really important, and I will see you guys in the next video. Have fun out there, everybody. It's been real fun making this. It's good to be in Dwarf Fortress again. I'll see you guys later.